All right, we're going to talk about writing and graphing inequalities, which I got to tell you, I'm 99% sure you guys are going to do just fine with this. And so you might be wondering, then why the heck are there alligators here? Because I got to be honest with you, I even have them printed in my room because when it comes to doing these, right here, the at least and at most, sometimes they trick me, okay? And so I have my own little like cheat sheet. And so like, if you're like, wait, how does that make sense? If you see them, you might go, oh, yeah. In fact, here's number 3. 1/2 of a number p, okay, 1/2 of a number, that's 1/2, p, is at least. Okay, so if I'm not going to look at that, then I'm going to say that this number is greater than or equal to 100, because that means that this thing, it's got to be at least 100. So it could be 100, but it could be bigger. So let's go check out, is at least, yep, I was right, greater than or equal to. And if you're like, yeah, duh, okay, well, smarty pants, sometimes I can't think through that. So that's what we're doing up here, is just writing this sentence as an inequality. And some of these, I got to tell you, are going to be super duper easy. Like a number here, just number 1, a number x plus 10 is more than 2. There you go. And if you're like, whoa, slow down, I didn't quite follow that. Well, so there's a number x, that's this guy, plus 10, that's this guy. I mean, come on. Is more than 2. Well, okay, here's just the 2 part. The is more than, that's just another way of saying greater than, right? So, and if you'd like, there it is, more than, right? Right. Down here, tell whether the value is a solution of the inequality. Well, what you're going to do is, here's the value they're giving you. They want you to plug it in here. So we're going to have 10 over 5. Is that greater than or equal to 1? Well, we have to simplify this side. 2 is greater than or equal to 1. So, yep, that one is a solution. And by the way, that's the key here, is just noting what is a solution, because a solution is going to be something that makes an inequality true. And for example, like the number negative 80 would not make this true, because 10 divided by negative 80 is just, it's not greater than 1, nor equal to, because this is negative 1/8, and that's definitely smaller than 1. So negative 80, not a solution. Great. So let's pick another one. How about 8? Kind of looks funky. Negative 9 divided by 3a. And they're saying, hey, what if a is 3? Is that a true solution? So negative 9 divided by 3 times 3. Why is it 3 times 3? Because 3 is multiplying a. Is that greater than negative 2? Well, negative 9 divided by 9, is that greater than negative 2? Well, negative 9 divided by 9 is negative 1, and that is greater than true. I was about to say greater than true. It's greater than negative 2. So yes, that's true. That is a solution. The winning swim team earned 245 points. The other teams earned at least 72 points less. Write an inequality that represents the points that the other teams earned. So there's some interpretation here, right? But here's what I'm going to do. 245 is definitely greater than or equal to the 72 points that is the difference between the two teams. And so, and I guess I didn't go over here and consult the alligators, but let's consult the alligators real quick. Where's the at least? There it is, right here. So it's greater than or equal to, so that's why I did that. I guess you could have said just greater than, because, you know, winning team has to win by a point, right? So whatever. So what I'm going to do is 245 minus some amount of points is, oh, you know what? So let's go with, it does need to be the greater than or equal to, because they earned at least 72 points less. Okay, and if you're like, so what's the interpretation here? I guess you could have done this. 245 points is greater than 72 points plus whatever the team scored, and you would get the same outcome. And anyway, so that's how you can look at this. That's A. And then B, was one of the teams able to earn 180 points? Please explain. So here's what you're going to do. Plug that in, and then you explain. I'm going to leave that up to you for now. All right, we're going to do some graphing. I'll do a couple of these. Why not? Let's start off with 12. So here's 12. First thing I'm going to do is just draw a number line. And how I do my number lines is as simple as humanly possible. If there's a 0, then we know where the negative numbers are and the positive numbers are. And then I'm going to put a closed dot on -2. It's closed because of that equals 2 portion right there. And then I'm just going to interpret this. -2 is bigger than all of these numbers. So this number right here is bigger than all of these numbers right here. Now, I probably mentioned it when I gave you the notes. If I somehow didn't mention it in the notes, well then, I can remember in teaching classes in the past that students were like, hey, listen, Mr. Math, if you put the variable on the left, so let's do that. If we put f on the left, well, that means this symbol's going to have to flip around, and then -4 is just over here. If you have it written like this, then all of a sudden, this symbol is just kind of like an arrow. So here's what I mean. That I would put the open dot because this does not have an equals to right there, right? And then when I say an arrow, it means, hey, it's pointing this direction. Now, while that is a fun and convenient trick or tip, I guess, I think it is important for you to be able to read this like a sentence, and that you can say f is the numbers that are bigger than -4. So like right here at 100, is that bigger than -4? Of course it is. And so that's why over here I didn't rearrange it. And then one more thing, in case I didn't somehow mention it in the notes, we have a negative y here. And we don't really have any others like that on this one, so that's why I'm zooming in here. When it comes to the inequalities, this is maybe a fact you remember, maybe it's a fact you don't remember. We need to get the y by itself. So, I mean, you could divide by -1, or you could multiply by -1, or you could just in your mind say, I need to flip all the symbols, and so it's y and now -3. But here is the kicker. When you multiply or divide by a negative, this symbol flips around, okay? And I think because of our 2 graphs so far, I'm not going to graph that one for you. I think you can do it. Down here, you're writing an inequality that represents the graph. So x is the numbers. And in this case, they are smaller than -2. So I'm going to do it like this. And I'm done. Right now we have x. They are smaller, and there's -2. And all I'm going to do on this one is just remind you that area of a rectangle is the length times the width. Again, you probably really super duper remembered that. And then the other thing is just to remind you of this little thing over here, because of it says at least. And I just got to tell you, I still, to feel extra good about myself, double check my little chart over here. So there you go. Writing and graphing inequalities. Let me know what questions you got.